Welcome back. We have some fantastic news for you that I think all of you have already heard at this point. Interest rates are indeed falling. And Julie, not that we're ones to take a victory lap, but we did predict that interest rates would fall at the beginning of this year. Actually, when we were doing our 2024 predictions in late 2023, we predicted that they would fall going into fourth quarter. So we were right. So go us.
Go us. Just not that we want to point that out or anything.
No, not that we're taking a victory lap in front of the thousands of you that are listening. So What we're going to be doing today is we're going to be sharing with you guys some talking points that you really should be aware of when it comes to sharing the good news with all of your potential sellers and buyers. Now, why does this matter? So for a lot of agents across the country, and you can see it in the total home sales, they had an okay, if not just an average, below average summer in terms of sales. Now, I know a lot of you, especially our coaching clients, have had your best years ever. But just for the vast majority of agents, this has just been a year that's maybe a year to forget. Well, this is officially your official notice that the turnaround has arrived. Now, I'll give you another prediction. You're going to see an explosive spring season in 2025. It should be obvious to everyone. And we're going to go through all the reasons why in today's show. But make sure you're taking a lot of great notes and make sure you're preparing yourself and just be, whatever word you want to use, optimistic, excited, whatever. Dust off all of the emotions you had back in 2022 when the market was absolutely on fire, because it is absolutely 100% beyond a shadow of a doubt going to be on fire going to 2025. Now, here's the hard part to do emotionally, is you need to start considering that 2025 has already started. You heard what I said. Your new year has already started. That has to be how your mindset works. Otherwise, you're not going to get into action. It's all too easy to lull yourself into complacency, especially in fourth quarter, and just basically coast into 2025 or the next year, hoping and praying that somehow you build your momentum. Build your momentum now with new leads, with all these, maybe some listings, all these things. That way, when 2025 rolls around, you've already got your number of listings. You've already got some AAA motivated buyers that have signed their exclusives. You already have houses in contract, and you already are building to have your best year ever. Do not wait until the new year. Please, dear listener, listen to what I'm saying. The easiest way for you to actually get ahead of the year is to join Premier Coaching now. So many agents in fourth quarter, they tell us, I'm going to join coaching, but I'm going to wait until next year. Why? It's going to take you realistically, even after you've been in our coaching program, for you to start using the scripts in our exclusive systems. It might take you 30 to 60 days to start actually getting benefit from it, because, for a lot of you, you're going to wait, procrastinate. You're going to feel more comfortable with the script after you've used it a few times. You're going to start getting, results. You're going to start listing that for sale by owner. You're going to start taking that listing, selling that buyer. But it's not going to happen as soon as you join coaching. You're going to have to actually learn what we're coaching you to do. Makes sense, right? Well, why not start now? That way, at the beginning of next year, you've had tremendous momentum. And we made it easy for you. You can join Premier Coaching for free. Just go to premiercoaching.com, or just text the word Premier, which is spelled, Julie?
Premier.
To 47372. Text the word Premier to 47372, and you can join Premier Coaching. But do that right away. Do not delay. I assure you that if you do, you'll remember listening to this podcast today, and you'll think back, I should have listened to what Tim and Julie told me, and this would be you next year if you decide not to take action in fourth quarter. You're going to be looking back, especially in first quarter, and you're going to say, I wish I would have, because now I'm having to build my momentum, whereas I could have just absolutely, freight trained into the year with all kinds of momentum, and I'd be teeing myself up for my best spring ever. By the way, when you have your best spring ever, you're going to have your best summer ever. When you have your best summer ever, best fall ever, then guess what? In fourth quarter, you can kind of, basically appreciate what you've done, but don't slow down again, because your new year's already started. You guys get it? That's how top producers think. That's how you need to think too. Take action. Join premiercoaching.com. All right, Julie, let's roll into these talking points. These are all the things that people are going to want to be knowing about this weekend. So make sure you are completely literate and fluid to have all these conversations.
That's right, because some of you don't talk about real estate all the time because you're not sure what you should be talking about. That's why we're giving you this weekend's and going forward talking points, scripts that sell. So before we get into these 5 points and then followed by some little
Let's
scripts.
do the notes later. Go. Point number one, 30-year fixed rate mortgages have finally dropped, and we're reading there's absolute reasons to believe The 30-year fixed rate mortgages are going to be less than 6% soon. That's the big headliner. That's the most important thing. And as of last night, you could get a 30-year fixed rate mortgage for 6.1%. That's a 30-year fixed rate mortgage for 6.1%. And I would imagine within the next 60 to 90 days, maybe 4 months, you're going to see a normal 30-year fixed rate mortgage be less than 6% in the high fives. That is going, and we did a lot of research yesterday as far as what that's going to do in terms of increasing home sales, and we're going to be talking about that on Monday. But let me just put it this way: it's going to be dramatic. The total home sales this year it's expected to be around 4 million home sales. The total home sales with lowering interest rates next year could be as much as 20% more. That's not including new construction. So like I said, housing boom has arrived. It's going to be a slow boom. It's not just going to be here. It's not going to be here today and gone tomorrow. This is going to be lasting. Again, did some research on this. And historically speaking, when there's been things like this, where there's been a lull in home sales and interest rates have gone down and activity increased, what is the projected increase in home sales over 5 years and 10 years? And we're sharing that information with you on Monday. But let me just put it this way: within 5 years, we're going to be back over 6 million home sales per year. So you are in the right place at the right time. Julie, point number 2.
Point number 2, August jobs report shows weaker job growth. The U.S. added 142,000 jobs in August, which was below expectations. July's figure was revised down to 89,000, and unemployment went up from 4.1% to 4.3%. Why do we care? Because that signals a potential economic slowdown, which, of course, will continue to lead to lower rates.
Well, so let's really drill down on what Julie just read. Where are the jobs people are losing jobs? What's actually happening? And what does that cause the Fed to do? When they see this BLMS report come out, they're assuming that a lot of the people that are, companies aren't hiring and companies might be firing. And so what they do is they look at that as a leading economic indicator, and that triggers them to want to actually lower the interest rates even more. So again, this is all great news. And there has been lots and lots of housing recoveries during times when unemployment was, let's just say slightly increasing, and people still bought houses because unfortunately, when someone loses a job in this economy, I shouldn't have said unfortunately, but fortunately, they're usually able to find a job relatively quick. And that doesn't, as far as when you hear about the job growth and, essentially the BLMS report, you don't know, where in the, are those what kind of jobs are those that people are losing? And a lot of them might be seasonal jobs. You guys know how, right before Christmas, there's always an increase in hiring. And then surprise, surprise, after Christmas, there's a decrease in hiring. It's all those temporary jobs, but they aren't factoring those out of these reports. So these reports from the government, let's just be honest, are a little sketch. Point number 3.
Grain of salt there. All right. Point number 3, national housing activity. We're reporting no demand recovery just yet because the National Housing Index actually dropped 2 points in September. But here's the thing. That typically lags behind. Why? Because that doesn't account for the fact that we have an increase in mortgage applications. So they may be reporting that, but that's really early summer numbers.
Well, again, I was researching some of this yesterday when interest rates were, now everyone's believing they're going into the 5s. And it's going to be an explosion in new construction as well.
That's already happening. The builders are reporting builder confidence is up, builder starts are up. And this is, a direct result of better rates for them. They're encouraged, so they're ramping it back up again.
I had an impromptu coaching call with one of our EXP Realty members and our EXP Realty group, David.
Yep.
And I know he's listening.
This morning, I think, right?
Yeah. So hi, David. Yeah, you were listening to me. And he had a house that was hard to sell in a new construction area. It was a builder spec, but he was surrounded by new construction builders. And this was a $2.5 million house. I told him to find out what the new construction builders, who are big, organized, at-scale builders, were doing in terms of financing, which he hadn't done yet. And again, he was trying to get this expired listing from this builder that was a small builder, 3 or 4 homes per year.
Smart.
And he's going to have to go in there and obviously find out what the incentive packages are the new construction builders are offering and at least match that. Otherwise, his house isn't competitive. So he's going to get that expired listing. And by the way, it's expired twice because he's going to make the listing more competitive, not necessarily by doing some big horrendous price reduction, because he showed me pictures of the house. The house is gorgeous. The lot's gorgeous. It obviously has a positioning issue which pertains to price. But looking at the comps, the price wasn't even that bad. It's not competitive based on the financing in that particular area. So keep all these things in mind when you guys are being aggressive going after new listings, especially going into fourth quarter. By the way, all of our notes today are available at harrisrealestatedaily.com. Harris Real Estate Daily is our daily newsletter. It is free for you. So just go to harrisrealestatedaily.com. Just drop in your email address. You have to confirm that you want the daily newsletter in your email, and then you're off to the races. All right, Julie, next point.
Next point is number 4, home price growth decelerating. That is different than depreciating. Home price growth is decelerating according to CoreLogic. Flat-ish prices. National home prices were flat month over month in July. However, here's the headline to talk about. They are still up 4.3% year over year. Affordability issues, the usual seasonal slowdown, continue to suppress some demand, but the good news is that prices are still rising by 4.3%. Now, I know some of you listening are like, 4.3%, that's terrible compared to the pandemic years. You've got to stop thinking that those pandemic years where over 3 years there was price growth of like 48%, that was not normal. The good news is that once that price growth happened, it stabilized, and we're still going up 4.3% year over year.
Again, working on another podcast topic, and we're talking, one of the points I really researched for Julie on an upcoming podcast was the likelihood of any kind of housing crash, correction, anything like that. And I'll give you the punchline. It's 0.00%. There's going to be any sort of precipitous reduction in home values for all the reasons that Julie just stated. So what you're seeing is when you read these headlines about price reductions and all the rest of it, you've got to read the content. They're expecting you to be lazy and not read the content of the article. They're expecting you to read the subject line. And then if you've noticed, a lot of these articles in the press have started basically having 3 bullet points at the top of the article. They're just trying to steer what they want you to think. They're manipulating you. Read the entire article, and then almost always, especially when it's about housing, you'll find the facts at the last part of the article. Just, next time you see a CNBC article that's not written by Diana Olick, read the whole article and read especially the last part, and you'll find the last section of the article almost always conflicts with their title or their 3 points. I don't know why the propagandists are trying to get us to think that housing is going to crash. I have zero idea why, but there's no reason to believe that that's true. But what you are seeing is you're seeing sellers that were aspirationally priced, aka overpriced. They are having to reposition their homes slightly on the market so they're in alignment with the expectations of what the buyers are willing to pay. I just gave you guys a whole bunch of fancy way of saying the seller's overpriced and needs to reduce the price, but that does not mean that they're losing value on their home. They're not the value of the home isn't falling. For example, if they paid $400 for it in 2021, it's now worth $800. And they priced it at $825, and they have to reduce it to $800, and they're still making $400,000. The way that you would read these articles is that the prices have fallen by whatever that percent is.
Right.
It's 3% or something, and it's obviously not true. So just keep in mind, a lot of the people writing these articles have an agenda, or maybe they're just frankly ignorant. So,
well, that could be too, because not everybody looks at the data in the same way as people who are actually practicing real estate do.
Right. Well, and again, a lot of them, I think probably demographically speaking, are younger people that are living in expensive areas, these article writers, right? And, these, dare I say, reporters. And they are probably a little bit resentful of the fact they feel like they're even priced out of the market.
Sure.
Especially in these overpriced, very expensive coastal areas. So, their biases are probably leaking in a little bit. But that aside, the fact is that home values have increased 4.3% year over year. And if you guys want a bench line for that, traditionally home values keep up with inflation. So if the inflation rate, again air quoting, is 2 or 3%, and you're looking at a 4.3% year over year appreciation or inflation, what that probably means is that inflation is still 4.3%, if not more. So all real estate is doing right now is keeping up with inflation. It's not necessarily, you can call it appreciating because the value is increasing, but the value is increasing, but at the same time, everything else that you're spending money on is also increased in cost. So even though the number is bigger, the actual value of the money that would be hypothetically pulled out of the house if you were to go to sell it buys you the same thing. But here nor there, that's wonkish. Just focus on the fact that when people are asking about home value increases, tell them 4.3% year over year. Yep. And, adjust accordingly because your local market could be substantially better than that.
That's true, and it depends on the price range too. Sometimes first-time buyer homes appreciate more or not. Sometimes, certain segments. So watch what you're doing on those segments.
Well, let me address that. So where I'm seeing, and I was doing a lot of writing for you this week. Where most of the price growth has been happening is on the very, very upper end.
That's interesting, isn't it?
The very upper end where you have, frankly, people aren't sensitive to interest rates. Or a lot of times they are not overly. Well, it's because they have so many
cash deals too.
Exactly. Well, you say
Sometimes.
cash, but it's cash from maybe they're taking essentially a loan against equity or things like that.
Right.
But yeah, they're less interest rate and certainly payment sensitive, and they're buying. A lot of folks right now, and I think it's going to be an enormous opportunity in the real estate market to really focus on upper luxury if your market supplies it, and if not, you might want to consider moving, frankly. Because the demand for ultra luxury, when you look at the number of people that are going to be able to afford really amazing, ridiculous properties over the next 10 to 15 to even 20 years, I only ran my analysis out 15 years, is extraordinary. Like literally millions of people are going to be able to buy houses over $10 million just because they've been able to roll equity to equity to equity. Mm-hmm. And you're seeing this already happening in some of the most expensive enclaves around the country that the normal, even 10 years ago, it was absurd to hear a house selling for, say, $7 million. And now they're selling for like 30.
Yeah, that's for sure. Evidence of that, just look in your own MLS and see what is in contract in that upper end. It might surprise you. And by the way, go David for isolating that builder with a high-end luxury new construction. That's a fantastic thing to be prospecting right now.
And by the way, he's a newish agent too. So
that's even better.
He sent me an audio of him calling this. It was a builder. The guy was thinking about going FSBO, so it was the guy expired twice, and now he's a FSBO, and he did pretty good. I mean, he was kind of winging it, kind of using our script.
Yeah, but he didn't wait to be perfect at it.
Exactly, and the call went pretty good, I have to say overall. So anyway, let's get point number 5.
Okay, and we're going to not do that, but we're going to do this. Okay, number 5, inventory and buyer power. This is something all of you have been waiting for, and we've heard about literally for years. Here's the headline: More options for buyers. With lower rates, buyers qualify for more homes. Inventory is up 22% year over year, giving buyers more negotiating power, though it remains 31% still below pre-pandemic levels. We still have more to go on the inventory. So anybody that's posting more inventory is going to crash the market, no, we're still below pre-pandemic inventory levels. Homes are still selling quickly, with the typical home going under contract in about 20 days. It used to be 26 days in August of 2019, so that hasn't slid too far.
Isn't that hilarious, though, honestly?
I know.
I mean, so look.
The drama of it, right?
Jules, look at all the points we've just shared with them. Interest rates are falling. Mm-hmm. We know there's tremendous pent-up demand.
For sure.
Now, inventory has increased 22% year over year. I forget what the actual, I did this research yesterday too. Mm-hmm. The amount of homes for sale in the country right now, I think you'll know this off the top of your head, it's a 4-month supply of homes for sale. Maybe it was a 90-day supply of homes for sale.
It's somewhere in that pocket, yeah.
All right. So again, the only headwind you have this time of year are a lot of people thinking, well, just wait till after the holidays. Mm-hmm. We should do a bunch of holiday scripts soon.
Will.
So I'm going to wait until after the holidays. Mr. Seller, listen, you're going to hear that in about a month, dear listener. Trust me. They all start saying that around Halloween, right? Yeah. Right. We're going to wait till after the holidays. Mr. Seller, I hear that a lot. What does after the holidays mean to you? And ask the question, and don't assume it means April, because a lot of times it's going to mean January 2nd, right? So ask them what after the holidays means, and then say, Mr. Seller, this is assuming you're talking to a seller, Mr. Seller, if there was a real financial benefit for you not to wait till after the holidays, in other words, tens of thousands of dollars more in your pocket, maybe even more, if you didn't wait till after the holidays, would you still want to wait till after the holidays? And listen to what they say. And if they say, I'd still want to wait, well, respect it and then follow up with them like white on rice, everything you possibly can to stay top of mind. Start acting as if that's going to be your listing. And if you can, get the listing contract signed. If they say, well, if you can prove to me that's true, I might consider having my house for sale, then book a listing appointment. And then, we have lots of research on Premier Coaching that's going to show that because during the holidays, there's fewer homes for sale, but in most of the country, the buyers looking are more motivated, you actually see homes sell for less well, sometimes they take the same amount of time, but they have tendency to sell for more than if that same house had been for sale in the spring. Why? More competition in the spring. That's why. Mm-hmm. So your best buyers who didn't buy, maybe they're relocating to your community, maybe they weren't, whatever happened, right? They're wanting to buy. They don't want to screw around. If they're in a part of the country where it's winter, they sure as heck don't want to be trotting through the snow and the ice. You guys get it? So again, a lot of research that we can share with you on Premier Coaching that shows that homes do sell during the holidays and oftentimes sell in a more beneficial way to the seller, and show them those numbers and let them make their own decision. And after that, if they still want to wait till after the holidays, go back to plan A, which is staying on them like white on rice and making sure that you get the listing. If not, get the listing contract signed and just post date it so that it starts whenever they say after the holidays means to them. Does that make sense, Julie?
It absolutely makes sense. And you mentioned relocation. Fourth quarter is generally relo season because many people need to start their new jobs in their new areas on January 1st. So that's especially good for those of you who are hunting higher end expired luxury neighborhoods, stuff like that, executive neighborhoods. So
we always got our best high end buyers this time of year.
Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah. And they would all we're relocating from wherever, and they're looking. Usually they started to search online, or they maybe had a day where they drive around. And this is if we weren't working with them through a relo company, touring the neighborhoods. They'd see our signs and they call. And you'd find out indeed it wasn't just one person that was relocating with ABC Corporation. It was usually 3 or 4 or a whole division. We are able, because we are using systems like 1-800-HOME-HOTLINE.com, we are able to pick off, essentially one call would come in asking about this one particular house that you've got for sale. And then we'd follow up with them, find out that it was a guy that was the CEO of a company. This happened with Mettler Toledo, if you remember.
Yeah.
And then it turns out the guy was relocating like a division of 20 people or something crazy like that to come along with him. He was relocating out of like Kentucky or I forget where.
Yep.
But anyway, moral of the story is that you have to be focused and drilled down this time of year. We are going to be doing an upcoming podcast on creating your fourth quarter plan, but don't wait for us to get it done. Just go out there and start having conversations, join Premier Coaching, and accept the fact that this is the time of year when you can build, put it in the framework, build the foundation to have your best year ever. All right, Julie, next point.
The next point coming up is the best week to buy. This is interesting. This is right from Realtor.com. The best week to buy it historically is September 29th to October 5th. Now, why that is, they've researched it. Historically, that's the best week for buyers due to rising inventory but declining competition, giving buyers more bargaining power. So, are you talking to your buyers? Are you talking to your prospects? We have some recommended scripts. We've given you some talking points. We've given you some headlines. For example, did you know? All
right, so we're going to give you the scripts now. And if you want actually a printed copy of all these scripts, you definitely want to subscribe to the newsletter. And it's harrisrealestatedaily.com, harrisrealestatedaily.com. Go there, subscribe, and you can get all these scripts. Julie's going to read them to you right now.
Yes, now these are short 1 or 2 sentence talking points, right? So don't think these are going to be like 10-point bullet pointed scripts. These are because you're talking to your prospects, you're talking to your database, you're having conversations at open houses, you're out there creating business for yourself. So first one is, based on our headlines, did you know that home inventory is up 22% from last year? You have more options now, and with mortgage rates dipping into the low 6s and possibly even below that soon, it's a great time to explore the market. Let's discuss exactly what you're looking for so that I can find the best homes for you.
Now, I'm going to paint a picture for all of you. She has some more scripts for you. What are you going to be doing? What are your action items from today's podcast? Start doing open houses every weekend. You need to act like the manic squirrel trying to generate more leads for yourselves. And don't be thinking you need to be building long-term branding campaigns or doing a bunch of other things. Focus on whatever is going to put you in front of as many people as fast as possible that want to buy or sell real estate. If you do have leads, go and call every single one of them and be as excited and motivational as we're trying to be on this podcast. So, you call them up, you let them know about the changes in the marketplace, find out what their plans are. If they're planning on doing something, next year, maybe they want to move that up. Because what's going to happen? This is inevitable. Listen to what I'm saying, dear listener. And this is a great script to use. It's not one of Julie's scripts. Because the interest rates are going to fall, you're going to see a sell-off of the inventory. There's no doubt you're going to see a sell-off of the inventory. And probably in the next 60 to 90 days, we're going to be talking about not enough inventory in most of the market, especially because we're going to be rolling up on the holidays. Makes sense, right? And so what's going to then happen for the listings that come for sale next? The prices are going to increase. Lower interest rates is going to cause, it absolutely will drive another surge in home prices. So we're going to be talking about inflation or appreciation again. Well, that's going to be a conversation, as Julie and I predicted 2 years ago, that is always going to be omnipresent when it comes to real estate. So you're going to be talking with your prospective clients, whether they're sellers that want to buy or first-time buyers or whatever, and you're going to be letting them know, ask them, so Mr. Seller, Mr. Buyer, let me ask you a question. So interest rates are falling. What do you think that's going to do to demand for housing? Is it going to cause prices to go up or cause prices to go down? They're all going to say up. All right. So Mr. Seller or Mr. Buyer, doesn't it make sense that you'd want to purchase something now before the prices increase? Because we already know that year over year, homes have increased how much in value, Julie?
Between 4 and 5%, depending on where you live.
Right. And so that means that $500,000 house that you're thinking about, if you just waited 4 months, it's now going to be, say, $525,000. And that's assuming there's not a surge because of the lower interest rates. So that same house could cost you at least $25,000, maybe even $50,000 more by simply waiting 4 months. Are you sure you want to wait 4 months? Now, when it comes to a seller, you're going to have to then, sprinkle it the other way too. Maybe the seller is in the best position to wait because they can, capitalize on the market. But the reality of it is more inventory. It'll probably level out towards the middle of next year. And then you'll see that I think the price increase is slowing. But certainly for the first 2 quarters, you're going to see a lot of inflation in real estate values. Hopefully that all makes sense to everyone.
Yeah, so you could say, for example, homes are still moving quickly. Remember, people are reading there's more inventory. What does that mean? But the facts are that homes are still moving quickly. On average, they're going under contract in just 20 days compared to 26 days pre-pandemic. If you've been considering selling, now's the time to list before the market shifts further. Let's discuss how we can position your property to sell fast and at a great price. And again, we've talked a little bit about fourth quarter scripts. There will be less competition typically fourth quarter.
Yep.
And there may be fewer buyers looking, but the buyers that are in the market are absolutely serious. They will say to you, I need to be moved in before the holidays. I need to be moved in before January 1st when my job starts. So that means that if you're one of, during fourth quarter, you might be one of 3 homes available and you wait until after the holidays, you're one of 20 homes available. That means longer days on the market and potentially less price for that seller.
Listener, do you realize that you could be calling all the listings that have expired in the last 12 months and most likely list the house for the same price, if not more, than they had it expire at and get the home sold? Do you realize that's the type of market that we're experiencing? Do you realize that for sale by owner, who may have been overpriced, like a lot of for sale by owners are previous expired listings who have given up on the real estate industry? So the price issue, Mr. Seller, comes down to 3 things: price, condition, location. And, let's just say when they put the house for sale and it didn't sell, the location was great, the condition was as good as it needed to be, but the price was the issue, and the seller wasn't willing to lower the price, not motivated enough. Well, what's happened is time has passed, the market has changed, and now the winds are at their back. If that doesn't motivate you to finally get off your butts and start calling expired listings, I don't know what will.
That's right. Okay, now we're seeing some neighborhoods shift in favor of buyers, but the best homes in hot markets are still selling fast. With competition potentially increasing as rates go down, more buyers will come into the market. It's important to price your home strategically. So let's discuss getting your property on the market for the best results. Now, that's more of a positioning script when you've got a seller that's ready to go. You've got to look at a case-by-case scenario, because what's interesting about this script and the headlines previously are that 2 things can be happening at once. We have more inventory, we have more competition. You can have price reductions and still a third of the homes selling for more than list. How does that happen at the same time? It's because of what you said at the top of the podcast. When you see price reductions, and we do see an increase in price reductions, it's because people have been so aspirationally priced, and because we were coming out of a market with starving inventory, which means that you could be a bit overpriced and still get it back then. So now we're seeing this weird combination of things. 30% of homes are still selling with multiple offers. At the same time, there's 20 to 30% of available inventory that's having to adjust their price. Now, keep in mind that some of those homes that did adjust their price end up getting multiple offers. So that's how you get 2 things happening at once. Does that make sense?
It does, and I'll tell you something.
It's kind of confusing to work out.
It makes perfect sense. It's called basically getting things positioned correctly in the market.
Yes.
And this isn't directly related to what you just said, but it's something else, that another article that we're working on talking about some of the myths about, first-time buyers. essentially first-time buyers priced out of the market and all the rest of it. Do you guys know that 32% of the homes that sold in the last 12 months were to first-time buyers? And this is something that you will be amazed by. Do you realize how many programs there are out there to help first-time buyers buy a house between financing and between grant, aka you get free money? There are dozens, and we're going to be sharing those with you on an upcoming podcast. Julie, next script.
Well, so it's not just about finding a home, it's about getting you the right deal for you. And some homes are still selling fast. We have recently seen a 25% increase in price reductions. I'm tracking those trends, especially in the neighborhoods you're looking in, to ensure that you get the best price on the home you're after. So let's go ahead and set up a time to explore your options. This is where you close for an appointment. I have either this time available or that time available, which is best for you. You have to be calling the buyers in your pipeline and having these discussions so that they don't figure out that rates are coming down and inventory is going up and then take themselves out looking at open houses, looking at new construction, and not thinking of you first. You've got to be top of mind. So homework, as Tim said earlier, is you've got to be talking to all of your prospects, all of your clients, and people in your database. Go back to your old open house leads. Have these discussions and, ask them all of the questions from the buyer pre-qualification script before you're closing on appointments. But assuming that they are qualified, they are motivated, and they're ready to go, all of you guys listening, nearly all of you have buyers that are only not in contract right now because you either haven't had these discussions to set up the appointments or you haven't found them the right house that's going to meet their needs.
Well, you just hit the nail on the head. So if you've got a list of leads, and this is for those of you who have a list of leads, call all of them and treat them all equally, but look for the ones that are most motivated. Don't look for the ones that are aspirational, if pigs fly type scenarios. Use our pre-qualification scripts, find out what their motivations are. If it's a seller that, is planning on, whatever in the future, ask them if, I'm going to sell as soon as, Johnny graduates from high school. Ask them if they want to move that plan up in anticipation of, frankly, the prices increasing on whatever they want to buy. So yes, they might be selling a little short going to the new market. Like they could be maybe selling it for more money next year, but that also means they're going to be paying more for whatever they want to buy. So you have to ask them, what they think. In a lot of markets, the go-to, especially with move-ups, is to put them into new construction, build, and then don't assume that they're not going to want to buy without the sale of their current home. That's a rookie mistake. A lot of people out there can easily buy without the sale of their home. Don't apply your, personal financial perspectives on your prospective client. Ask them. So listen, if we find you a home that you're after, whether it be new construction or resale, checks all the boxes, the home you guys have been hoping to purchase, would you go ahead and buy that and then close on it and then we sell your next one? Don't be surprised if they say sure, because they could, let's say they have a lot of equity in their current home. They could, for the down payment in the next one, they don't even have to do a bridge loan, most of them. They could probably just purchase the next home. Maybe they have the cash. Maybe they can borrow against, the equity of a portfolio. It doesn't matter. Not your problem to figure out.
That's true.
Just ask them the damn question, and you will be surprised how many more transactions you're going to be able to shake out of your database simply because you stopped assuming that they had to sell first. A lot of them don't. All right, so here's the last bit. Every single person you run into for the rest of your life, but especially this weekend, make sure you're showing massive energy and enthusiasm. They're going to be coming off a lot of crappy, negative, bizarro headlines about real estate.
True.
And you need to have these talking points at the ready so you can explain to them what actually is going on in the market. Apply what Julie and I just shared with you, but get into your MLS and know the actual drill down specifics so you can counterbalance all the misinformation they're getting out there about all the housing naysayers. Real estate is and always will be the American dream. By the way, more research I did finding out if that's still the case. A whole bunch of surveys and polls have been done in anticipation of the presidential election, by the way. And guess what? All you housing naysayers, y'all wrong. Because owning a home is still the American dream. As much as all of you want to make it so, especially you socialist bended folks out there, God bless you. But those of you who want to have some sort of institutionalized, housing where essentially everyone gets a home, no, it doesn't work like that. You're going to have to actually earn it. It just is what it is. It's something that's hard to do the first time, gets easier to do every time after that because you've got equity. That's the way it's always been. Oh, another thing I've been researching is now, I wanted to know how hard it is to buy a house now versus ever, last 20 years, 30 years, 40 years. And it turns out this is the easiest time to buy a house because of all the different financing programs that are out there. When Julie and I were buying our first house when we were in our early 20s, Guess what? It was hard as hell to buy a house. There were like 2 programs.
Yeah.
And the favorite thing a lender would say to a first time buyer was no. Nowadays, there's so many programs out there, and there was no grant money when Julie and I were buying homes. Now you could buy with, guess what? With a low 500s credit score, you can get grant money. In other words, your down payment could largely be granted, or you have to put down something like 3%. And you're telling me this is the hardest time to buy a house in the history of the United States? That's not true. Yes, sale prices are higher, but when you compare what the payment on a house given interest rates at 6% would be versus what the average U.S. rents are, it's virtually the same. So there's no financial reason for, even with crappy credit, frankly, for a buyer not to be buying a house. For when you say buyers are priced out of houses, buyers who do not have gainful employment, who do not have, maybe they're not getting paid enough, they need to upgrade their, essentially the value they offer to the marketplace so they get paid more. But they're going to find a home for sale. They're going to find a mortgage that works for them, and they're going to be unbelievably happy that they purchased a home. So I want you to have that level of focus, that level of energy and enthusiasm when you speak to the marketplace, and realize that you are in the right place at the right time. And the market is absolutely going to boom going into next year, and at least for the next 5 years after that. But it won't boom for you unless you have your head screwed on straight.
Okay, so quick example straight out of my coaching schedule with a coaching client who prefers anonymity, but you'll be able to figure it out probably. So this is a coaching client we've been working on not being a secret agent, getting better at talking about real estate. This is our topic today, right? Talking points, conversation starters, light scripting. Don't be a secret agent. We've been working
so I already
on this.
figured it out, and I won't use the name. Okay, but this is how dedicated Julie is to her coaching clients. Okay, this coaching client may or may not be local to us, and this coaching client, am I going to get yelled at for saying this?
Just don't.
I won't say any names. I won't say any names.
Yeah.
So this is a coaching client that's local to us, and the sale price where we live is not low. And so this coaching client in particular wants to network with more folks and obviously get more leads and
Expansion of center of influence.
Right. So Julie, as being a stellar coach, is inviting her to social activities that Julie is involved in and introducing her to all of her friends. Julie is actually helping her network. That's how dedicated Julie is to helping her coaching clients kick serious ass.
Yes, and thank you for mentioning that because it's fun for me too. But here's the thing, that she went to a social event that we didn't go to last weekend, okay? And was using her newfound talk about real estate, don't be a secret agent type of scripting. And guess what? Runs into a buyer. Buyer says, and this all ties into today's podcast, because remember, you said talk to the people who are most motivated, most qualified, going to do something now. Buyer says, I am going to buy something in XYZ neighborhood in the next 2 weeks. I have to buy something in the next 2 weeks, okay? So coaching clients' ears prick up, have a great conversation, get an appointment set, find the house, and I believe, hopefully, they're going to be in contract today.
Yeah, so there
you go. So that doesn't, that shows, was that a purchase lead? No, it was not. Was that something that was business created because of a simple conversation, because this coaching client is confident, very confident, and extremely good at the stats locally in her market, had that conversation, detected there was motivation, there was a very short time frame, was proactive, finding something to actually sell to this person, and hopefully that will be your next deal happening today. Nice work.
Do y'all remember when a new iPhone came out and people would line up around the store to basically get the newest iteration of the newest iPhone? And yes, Julie Harris did do that, and no, I did not.
You were there too.
I was not standing.
You just weren't in line.
There's no way I was standing in line. But anyway, so Julie stood in line because she wanted the newest iPhone. Nerd alert. Anyway, well, that's what's happening in housing right now. That's the reason I'm telling you guys that. You right now are Apple. You have the latest iteration of the iPhone that everybody wants because you have access to real estate. And there is a literal line of people that are lining up around the corner to want to see what you have for sale. If you don't believe me, follow our open house plan that you get as part of Premier Coaching, premiercoaching.com to join for free, or just text the word Premier to 47372. Start doing open houses. Start getting off your butts, especially in fourth quarter, and going out there as meeting as many people as you can. Your competition is largely going to be asleep at the wheel, taking the rest of the year off. They're, essentially icing their cookies and decorating their Christmas trees and whatnot, while you're out there actually picking off all the leads of the folks that are going to be buying in fourth quarter and into the new year. That's the mindset to have. Be incredibly aggressive, knowing that the wind is finally going to be at your back in a meaningful way. You know, people argue whether there's a slowdown that happens in the economy because of the election. I think it's kind of obvious that hell yeah, there is, because people are all distracted by all the doom and gloom and garbage that happens in politics. Well, that's going to clear itself up in very short order. Interest rates have fallen. Inventory has increased. We know there's a line around the corner of people that want to, buy what you have for sale. If that doesn't motivate you, you're unmotivational. It's literally not possible for you to be motivated if that doesn't excite you.
Yeah, that's right. So get to work. Be the agent that's talking about real estate with all of these great talking points. Back it up by stats and facts, and then ask what they're most interested in and find yourself with more appointments this weekend.
If you love today's podcast, we know thousands of you do, please remember to give us a 5-star review and a pithy comment over on iTunes. That is your homework and your way of saying thank you for this podcast. Assuming you wish to give us a 5-star review, please do so over on iTunes. Have a fantastic day. We'll talk with you anytime because guess what? There's 5,000 plus past podcasts for you to listen to. Have a fantastic day.